Remember we were talking about when you were going dancing, you told us that great story about the shoes. You would bring your shoes down
Oh,
in your
aye,
bag.
the men. Two boys in particular I knew would come with their black patent shoes and had it in a drawstring bag. They were good dancers, by the way, these guys, but they weren't big-headed or anything like that, you know. They didn't mind who they lifted, but they brought their dancing shoes with them because they thought bringing your, see at that time they were maybe wearing sweatshoes and that, you just get ruined in here, so they were bringing their own shoes. The girls didn't bother, they just came with their shoes and that was that, you know. And as I tell you, the ladies' room was down the stair and the gents was up the stair. And we were right next door to the Hall Street police station. And there was never any trouble. The only time I ever saw any, it wasn't really trouble. It was a guy went up on the platform to sing and they couldn't get him off. And so the only way they could think it was, so they had a side door at the side of the stage and the guy came up to it. Nothing would happen to him. It was just, couldn't get him off and that was it. But there was never, you could go and there was never any trouble. You know, there was never any. And as I told you, the tram car, you'd get the tram car up the hill. That was the one that was a trolley car. And it ran from the foot of Cabaya Road to Dundalk. And everybody paid for that last car at night, you know. And it was, you were only spending about tuppence or something like that, you know, that was your fare, it was nothing, you know.
That probably is the most useful to us, if that's okay with you, is, can you tell us that story of when you met your husband?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'd never been to a dance before. So in those days, dances were held regularly. I mean, every week. Because that was the norm. That's what people did. And so the first time I'd ever been to a dance, we'd just qualified, and a friend from the my training, what shall we do on Saturday night? And Sue, this is another Sue, must have been a popular name at the time. She said, let's go to a dance. So I said, okay. So I went to the dance. And inside, when you went inside, there were seats all around. The women sat on one side and the men sat on the other side. And so I'm watching, and my husband Alan came up to me and he said, will you dance? So I said, oh yes, but I have to tell you I don't know how to. And he said, don't worry, I'll teach you. And that was where I fell in love with him. But, and the funny thing was, after he'd danced with me and then taken me back to the chair, I sat there and watched him dance with all the other women, and I'm thinking, what have I done wrong? And then he came to ask me for the last dance, which was his plan, of course, because he wanted to ask me, could I see you again?
And Singers was a great place to work. I mean, during the wartime they had, at a lunchtime over at a certain department, they had a kind of workers' music thing, you know, where people got up and dance and played music and all the rest of it during your lunch hour, and then you went back to your own department, you know. But I loved it, absolutely loved it.
What was your favourite job when you worked at Singers? Because I know that you
Actually, clerical work was my favourite job. I went into the stores to do clerical work. You were dealing with people's wages. Then I went from there to being a time study checker, which is the men are coming out to time the jobs. They're clocking on you and clocking off, and you're recording it, and I loved it. I loved all the jobs I had. I couldn't complain. I really loved it.
I was talking to she's my grandmother-in-law. I was trying to remember who she was to me. And she lives in Clydebank, and she said that she used to go dancing locally. Did you ever go to any dances
No,
here?
strange enough, now you mention it, I worked in Glasgow. So I just went there because the girls that I was friendly with and worked with, they didn't live in Clydebank. So we would meet up in Glasgow and then go our various ways. And we just didn't go to dancing. Went to theatre. I know that doesn't really exist too much now, but Glasgow had quite a lot of theatres. The Empire Theatre, which was variety, and we got all the big names. Yeah, remember that. And when work finished, we would go. You could get a seat for about, and this wouldn't mean much to you, about 2 shillings. You could sit in the balcony. So we could do that. So there's entertainment in that. Of course, cinema as well. Oh, that's right.
How often would you say that you would go out in the week?
In the week? Well, it could vary. Weekends were more maybe to go to the dance. Weekdays, maybe a couple of nights, cinema or theatre. That's right. And when I first started work, left school at 15, I'd love to have stayed on, but in those days there was no grants. You know, you had to pay for it yourself, unless you got a bursary or something. Well, that could be dicey, you might not get it. So what you could do, leave work, get a job, and go to night classes, which I did. It would give you a wee bit more reputation if you were going to another job. You could, if you'd got your certificate, you could say there you are, whatever. So that was then.